welcome to my channel. I am the Nutty Theorist, and today's video is going to be all about the simulation theory. Now before I get into it, before I explain what it is, you have to be open-minded because this theory is actually insane when you first hear about it. And you're probably going to think I'm absolutely insane, but I promise I'm not. It's really interesting. The second thing to keep in mind is that we know pretty much nothing about our universe, how it was formed. At least we don't have much evidence to prove our theories, like the Big Bang Theory. The third thing I want you to keep in mind is just how far our technology has gotten. The rate of our technological advancement grows exponentially, which means every time there's a new technological advancement, we decrease the amount of time before the next huge one by half. I mean, just think about how quickly we have augmented reality, VR goggles. Look at video games from the early 2000s, even 2010. The quality of those compared to the quality of them now. I mean, these video game characters look and feel like they are real, especially with the implementation of VR goggles. Who knows what technology we'll have in a couple thousand years, even 10 years from now. Self-driving cars, extremely realistic augmented reality games. Just keep that in mind. Okay, so now that I've gotten all of that out of the way, the theory that we are going to be talking about is called the simulation theory. And basically what that is the theory that we are all living in some sort of computer simulation, basically like an advanced version of The Sims. Again, it sounds insane, but once you finish this video, and I encourage you to please watch this video to the end, you might actually have an existential crisis. So the theory basically came into the public eye in 2003 by philosopher Nick Bostrom, but it was first published decades before by Hans Moravec. And the argument states that one of the following is most likely true. 1. Human civilization is unlikely to reach a technologically advanced point where we are able to make a simulation because either it's not possible or because we all kill ourselves in World War III. Donald Trump. Moving on. 2. We reach the point that we actually have this ability to create a simulation and artificial consciousness, but we decide not to for humanitarian reasons. For example, if you create consciousness, you're also giving that conscious being the ability to feel pain, sorrow, get hurt, get killed. So for humanitarian reasons, we might not want to push that onto some being that we create. The third and final possibility that we're going to be talking about is we will reach that point where we have quantum computers and we are able to simulate artificial consciousness and an artificial reality. And we actually do it. So basically, if someone believes that we won't be destroyed or destroy ourselves before we can reach that point, and if someone believes that we're horrible human beings and want to create consciousness regardless of the humanitarian consequences it might have, then the third possibility most likely is true. And if the third possibility is the truth, the odds of us living in a simulated reality are extraordinarily high. But you might be thinking, wait, so even if we get to that point where we're able to create the simulation, and we do, who's to say that we're not the first? Like, we're probably going to be the first, right? We cannot possibly live in a simulation. And to that I'd say you're probably wrong. Odds are we aren't the first. You see, prominent scientist and creator of companies like Tesla, SpaceX, Hyperloop is developing Neuralink, Elon Musk says that there is a 1,000,000,000 to 1 chance that we are the ones that are living in a simulation-based reality. But Rich Terrell, a scientist at NASA, said, quite frankly, if we're not living in a simulation, it is an extraordinary, unlikely circumstance. There are more simulated minds than organic ones. It becomes more and more unlikely, or as Rich Terrell puts it, if in the future there are more digital people living in a simulated environment than there are today, then what is to say that we are not part of that already? Terrell compares the recognition that we are living in a simulated reality to when Copernicus realized that the Earth was not actually the center of the universe. In other words, it's such a profound idea that it wasn't even thought of as an assumption, and when they dropped the assumption that it wasn't true, everything became much easier to understand. The fact that we are living in a simulation is much easier to understand than the idea that we're not. If we did live in a simulation, it would explain where our lives, where our universe came from, as well as what's called the measurement problem, where things only become defined when they are observed, explaining the particularities in quantum mechanics and problems with physics. So why do people think that we're living in a simulation, other than because of the rate of our technological advancement? Well, some believe it because of the mathematical way the universe behaves and how it's broken up into pieces or subatomic particles, which are basically like the pixels of a video game or any computerized image. Think about the Fibonacci sequence, right? It's a sequence of numbers that is so perfect that it is found everywhere. 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, and so on. So this sequence, because it's found everywhere, in pine cones, in flowers, in our human faces, in art, in the universe, in galaxies, why isn't such a perfect outcome the result of a computerized code? There is technically no real evidence that we are living in a simulated reality, but there are always ways that scientists believe that we can test the theory. The first way is that neuroscientists and AI researchers can check whether or not it's possible to simulate the human mind. In other words, whether or not it's possible that we can create consciousness or we can create a conscious being at all. 2, scientists can look for the hallmarks of a simulation. So a professor of physics at MIT, Max Tegmark, who is a skeptic of the theory, said, suppose someone is simulating our universe. It would be tempting to cut corners in ways that would make the simulation cheaper to run. You could look for evidence that this is an experiment. In other words, glitches in the matrix. With every computerized program, there are glitches. You probably heard of a glitch in the matrix. Some examples people cite are the Oscars, Moonlight, La La Land situation. If you live under a rock, last year at the Oscars, they announced Best Picture as La La Land, but then when everyone was up giving their acceptance speeches, they were like, no, just kidding, it's Moonlight. Because of that mix-up, people believe that that was a glitch. Someone messing up the controls, someone seeing how humanity would react to such a big, large-scale mix-up. Something of that sort. People also actually cite the 2016 US presidential election. And just for total disclaimer, just so I'm clear, I am a liberal. I do not support Hillary Clinton. I didn't support either of the 2 candidates in the election. I actually wasn't old enough to vote. I was off by a month. But just for disclaimer, so you guys know where I'm coming from, I am liberal and I did support Bernie Sanders. Moving on. So a lot of people think that that was a mistake. That the entire time Hillary was supposed to win, but then there was a glitch and suddenly Trump won. I remember waking up at 6 a.m. on the dot the next day, and I never wake up early. Like, it is a pain to get me out of bed in the morning. But, at exactly 6 a.m. I woke up with no alarm, nothing, and just from the second I opened my eyes, I was like, something is wrong. This does not feel normal. There's something wrong. And I did not know the results of the election. I did not stay up to witness them. But then I checked my phone and I was like, oh, well, shit, maybe that's why it felt so wrong, because Trump wasn't supposed to win, but he did. And I'm not the only person who thinks that. There were a lot of people that just felt like something was wrong, felt like something in the air, in just humanity, just wasn't right that day. Like, it wasn't meant to happen, and it did because of a glitch. Some people also think the Mandela effect is actually a glitch in the Matrix. The Mandela effect, for those of you who don't know, I'm going to do a whole video on this, but just briefly, Mandela effect is basically when a large group of people have a false memory or a memory of something that didn't actually happen, and they know for certain that it did. But I'm gonna get more into that with a different video. That was all about the simulation theory, and it might sound crazy, but you know, it's also really interesting to think about. And just think about it. How much crazier is it than the thought that some superpower, some god, some alien race or whatever created us? I mean, if you think about it, it's basically the same thing. This higher being of more intelligence, of more knowledge than us, created humanity. In one case, it's a god. In the other case, it's a computer. How far off is, you know, how far off are they from each other? My opinion, I think they're pretty connected. But anyways, I want to know what you guys think of this. I know I don't have a lot of subscribers right now, but please, if you're watching this, let me know that if you like this video, if you want me to change anything up. Still working on a background, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments section, or you can tweet me at Nutty Theorist. All my links are in the description down below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell to get notified whenever I post a video. I post videos every Monday and Thursday, and I will see you on Monday. Bye!